Hi there. So far, we have learned different properties of arrays and performed different operations on arrays. Now, in this video, I'll put everything together to have a big picture of arrays, and additionally, we will get familiar with built-in functions of arrays in Python. So here, we will perform 16 different operations. As you see, I have put all of them here to make our lives easier. So we will perform these steps one by one. So let's get started. So we know that to use arrays in Python language, we need to import array model. So in the beginning, I will import array model from array import star. This line of code imports array to our project. Star means that we are importing everything. Once we imported array model, so we can continue to our first step. So what's first step? First step is we create an array and we will traverse through array. So let me just put like this because I want to make these comments as header for each step. So we'll start from here. So let's create one sample array. So when we create an array, first we need to write array's name. So array name will be like this, my array equals. Let's create an array of integers. So to create an array of integers, we need to put first array keyword here, which is coming from array model. And then we need to provide data type. Data type is the type code. As you remember in lecture where we explained how to create an array in Python, I gave the list of type codes. So I'm not going to provide it here. If you want any data type, you can go back and see in this lecture. By the way, I will include in resource section of this lecture the type codes that are available for recent version of Python. So here we will create integer, so which means that I'll put as a code here I. Then we need to provide the list of elements. So here I will put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 elements in this array. So with this, we have created our array. This type code over here, I, represents a signed integer whose size is 2 bytes. So the next operation inside this step, we will traverse through array. So how we are traversing through array? We'll just create simple loop in my array and print out array elements. Print array elements. Okay. Hi. Let's run our code to see that everything is working smoothly. Okay, if I run this, Python 3, so array practice is going to be array practice. I have 2 files here. So it's going to be array practice. You see that when I run this code, it's traversing through all elements and printing out them one by one. So first it goes to first element, then printing out first, then it goes to second element, printing out second, and third and fourth and fifth. So for the first step, everything works smoothly. And I just want to remind you that the time complexity for this operation is O (n), because we are traversing through all elements of this array. Okay, we are done with our first step. Let's continue to our second step. So what's second step? Second step is accessing individual elements through indexes. So we know that individual elements of array can be accessed through indexes. An index of arrays starts from 0. So for example, let's access first element of this array. So how we are going to do this? So to access first element, we will use index 0 because we know that index starts from 0 in arrays. To do so, we need to first write array name. Then inside brackets, we will write index. So let me print out this. Print. So to identify the step 3, I'll put one more print over here to see that this is coming from step 2. step 2. So let me save it and let's clear this part. Let's run our code again. We see that in the step 2, we have accessed our first element, which is 1. So we print it out from here using print statement. So to access any given element in the array, we are using indexes. So let's try one more example. Let's change this one to, for example, index 3 and run our code. We see that in step 2 we have 4 here. So the index of 4 is 3 because it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. So with this we know that to access an element of an array we are using index. Okay, let's continue to next step. In the next step we will add an element to the array using append method. So we have different methods of inserting an element to the array. In this case we are using append method. By using append method, we can only insert an element at the end of array. Let me just copy this from here and put it here as a step 3. To access append method, we just need to write array name dot append. So here we can put the value that we want. You see that it says that append new value to the end of array. So this function appends an array and adds new element end of the array. You cannot use this method to add an element in the beginning or in the middle of an array. So let's put, for example, after 5, 6 here. And then let's print out our array, my array, and run our code. You see that after step 3, our array comes here. We print out our array. So we have an extra element of 6 at the end of array. Before we had 5 elements, now we have 6 elements. As we said before, if we are adding an element at the end of array, the time complexity for this operation is O1. So by using append function, we can add an element at the end of array very fastly. So let's continue to the next step. The next step is insert value in an array using insert method. So this is different case. Here, by using insert method, we can add an element at any point of our array. But this will be time consuming process. So let's see how this is working. Okay, once again, to connect this method, we need to write array name. But before doing so, I'll just copy this and put it here and make it step 4. Then I'll write array name, then insert. Here, it takes 2 parameters. First, we need to put the index where we want to insert the element, then we will put the value of element. As you see, when we select insert, it shows that insert a new item into the array before position I. So if I put I as 0 and element, for example, 1, 1, and run our code, but before running, let me just print out to see the result, my array. So let's run our code. We see that after step 4, our array is printed. So the first element in the array now it's 11, which means that when you use insert function and if you put 0 as a parameter, it's going to insert in the first element. As we said before, this is very time consuming process because when you add in the beginning of array a new element, the other elements have to shift one step right, and this is very time consuming process. We can use this insert function to add an element in the middle of array. Let's put 3 here and run our code again. So 11 is added before index 3. It takes the place of index 3. So let's continue to the next step. In the next step, we will use extend method to extend our array. So what does it mean? By using extend method, an array can be extended with more than one value. So here, as you remember, by using append function over here, we just appended our array with one element. But here we can create another array, and using extend method, we can extend our array with this array, newly created array. Okay, let's create one new array over here. My array, I will put 1. Then it's going to be type of integer again. So I, and let's create elements from starting from 10, 11, 12. So by using extend method, we can extend our previous array with this array. So to use it, we need to put array name dot extend, and as a parameter, we will put this array over here. Okay, like this. Then if we print out our array, we'll see the result. Let me just print this array because the array that we are going to extend is this one. And let me put here step 5 to identify the steps. Okay, step 5. Now let's run our code. This is step 5. We see that, so our previous array was this till 6 because here we added 11 to our array. So it starts from 1, 2, 3, 11, 4, 5, 6. Then we have new array over here which has 3 elements. By using extend function, we put these 3 elements at the end of this array. So the last 3 elements is the elements that come from this array. So hopefully everything is clear for this. So let's continue to our next step. In the next step, we will use different function from this function. This function also adds elements to our array, but the only difference is it adds error from the list. As I told you before, arrays is not built-in function in Python. Instead of array, they have list over here. In the next section, we will talk about list. But here you just need to know that it's kind of same data type as arrays. So let's just for simplicity create one simple list over here. The creation of list is like this. Let me just put temp list equals, we just need to provide elements. I'll put here 20, 21, 22. So then if you want to add this list to this array, we just need to put my array dot from list, and as a parameter we just need to provide this list over here. One more time, let me copy these steps from here and put it here, and this one also. I'll change the step number to 6. And let's save this and let's rerun our function. You see that in the step 6 we have the array that we had before. This is the array that we had before. So we added extra 3 elements at the end of this array. But in this case, these elements come from list data type. So it's not coming from the array data type. Yeah, as you see, it's similar to array data structure, but there are little bit differences. I don't want to give more detailed information about this in these sections. We will do it in the next section. Okay, let's continue to the next step. The next step is remove any array element using remove method. Actually, we saw this process in the previous lecture, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this. I'll just copy this code from here and put it here and just delete this part. 7. So here we just need to call remove function. Okay, let's just remove one element. Okay, if you want to remove the last element of this array, which is 22, so let's run our function. You see that 22 is removed from the last of element. You can put any element over here. For example, let's delete 11. As you see, 11 is repetitive in this array. So the question is, if we run this function, what will happen? Is it going to delete all 11s or it's going to delete only one? Let's see what will happen. If I run this function, you see that we have 11 over here, but the 11 over here is removed, which means that a remove function works like this. When it finds the first occurrence of this value in the array, then it removes it and that's it. It's not continuing to find another occurrence of this array. So this is how remove function works. So as you see, this is very time consuming. Here also we have n time complexity because it has to remove one element from the array and move all elements to the left. Okay, let's continue to the next step. Next step is remove last element by using pop method. So as we said before, removing last element is very time efficient process because we don't need to move any element to right or to left. So to do so, we can use pop method, which is built-in function in array model. So let's run this function and see how this is working. If I run this like this, and as you see, in this case, our last element is 22. So if I run this, so in the step 7, we have this array. As you see that if we run pop function, we remove the last element from the array, and which is very time efficient process. Now let's continue to step 9, in which we will use index method to find index of any given element. So here, I will just print out the value. So once again, we'll write array name, my array dot index method. Here, for example, if I provide the value of 21, let's see what's the result. So in step 9, we have result of 10, which means that this is the index of 21 in our array. Okay, let's see if this is correct. It starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As you see, the index of element of 21 is 9. So this method returns the index of any given value. So that's it for this step. Let's continue to the next step, in which we will use reverse method to reverse our array. So one more time, we will write our array name, which is my array dot reverse function. So here we will not provide any parameter. So if I just one more time print our array, we will see the differences. Here is it, step 10. Okay, let's run our code. You see that in the step 8, we have our array over here, and in the step 10, this array is reversed. So the last element comes to the first element, then the element from before the last element comes to the second element, and it continues like this. Our first element now is the last element. So by using reverse function of an array, we can reverse elements of any given array. So let's continue to the next step, which is 11. So here we'll use buffer info method. These methods provides you the array buffer start address in the memory and the number of elements in the array. Okay, let's see how this is working. I'll just copy this code again one more time. It's step 11. Here we will put buffer info with no parameter. So let's print out this information because otherwise we will not see it. If I run our code, you see that it says that our array buffer starts from this point in the memory and it has 11 elements. If we count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 elements. So this function can be used to get information our array. So let's continue to the next step. So the next step is count method. So in many programming languages, when you use count method for array, it counts all elements of the array. But in Python, it works different. Here, it counts the occurrence of that element. How many times this element occurred in the list. So let's see how this is working. So if I'll just print again this one here. Let's run this. Count, for example, I'll count element of, for example, 11. Now we don't have repetitive element over here. It should return 1. You see that it returns 1. But let me, before doing that, let me add another element over here. Let's use append method. How about 11 at the end? One more time. And if I run this function, it should return 2. This returns error now because I did something wrong here. Array name is my array. So if I run this, you see that now it returns 2, which means that the occurrence of 11 in the array is 2. So we can easily see by printing out this array. I'll just print out this my array to see that everything is correct. So if you look at this array, you see that 11 is here, and at the end we have one more 11. So by using count function, we can count the occurrence of elements in the array. So many people mix this with the count of elements. I want to make sure that this is not the count of all elements, it's just the occurrence of elements in the array. So let's continue to our next step. Now the next step is converting array to string using toString method. Now if we try to convert our integer array to string, you'll see that we have strange characters. But it doesn't mean that it's not working properly. So let's try it. For now, I'll create one temporary array, string str temp, and then I will assign this array the string format of our integer array, which is my array dot toString. And if I print this out, you will see that we have some strange characters over there. Okay, let's save it and let's run it. You see that it print out in step 13 strange characters. So how do we know that this is working properly? So if we convert this back to the integer, we will see that our array works properly. So let me create another array which is empty integer array. It's going to be like this, array integer, and here I can do like this, from string. Calling from string, we can create an array of integers from string. Then I will put this array over here. Now if I print out this array, you will see that it's going to be the same array that we had before. Sorry. Okay, let's run our code one more time. Then when we convert that string to this integer array, it is the same as with array that we have before. So this is how toString method is working. So the next step is we will convert our array to list. So to do so, we just need to call toList function. Here it's going to be like this. Let me just print out the result of this toList function. List. So let's see what is the difference. Okay, as you see, we converted our array to the list. So when we print out our array, it shows that array is type of integer and it's going and printing then the elements. But when you print out the list, it's coming like this without showing the data type of list. It's just printing the elements. So this is how we can convert our array to the list. So let's continue to the next method. Here I will just comment out this. I don't need to convert it to list because here we are talking about arrays. So the next method is append a string to the char array using from string method. So as you see, we used here this method, so it's going to be the same operation as we did here. So I'm not going to do anything here. We can just combine these two steps over here. So I use this from string method to show you that our toString method works properly, because otherwise it's not possible to see it, because when we print out, we see the strange characters over here. So I'll skip this step over here. Then we will continue to step 16. This part is very interesting because here you can just slice the arrays into the parts. So how this is working? Let's see how this is working. For example, if you want to print out only first three elements of the array, you can slice it by using this slice functionality of array. So how this is working? You just need to write the array name and the indexes that you want to print. So if I put from 1 to 4, it will print 3 elements because it's always printing the element till the element, this last index that we provide here, minus 1. If I print out this information, you'll understand it very well. Okay, let's run this. You see that this is our array over here, and by using this slice functionality, we can just print out first three elements of array. But here we just need to put 4. Every time if you want to print out 3 elements, you have to add 1 and put it here. If you want to print out 4 elements, you have to put 5 here. There are some other different ways of expressing slicing. So if I put here empty and here 2, it will start from the second index, printing out all elements. So if I run this, you see that this is 0 index, this is first index, and it starts from the second index. So if I leave this one empty and put, for example, 4 here, let's see what will happen. In this case, it prints all elements till the fourth index, but fourth index is not included here. As I said before, this part is minus 1. Let's see what happens if I remove this one also and put it like this. If I print out this function, you see that it's just printing all elements, so without any slicing. So slicing might be very beneficial in many situations because this functionality provides more flexibility in many cases. So with this step, we come to the end of our lecture. Hopefully you have understand all steps over here, and hopefully you get deep knowledge about built-in functions of array in Python.